In today's video, we'll be taking a look into how current EuroLeague and NBA big men are creating space to help their team create scoring opportunities. I go by the name of Coach Pierce, and welcome to another episode of Coach's Edition. If you're new around here, make sure you subscribe as well as turn on your notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. Be sure to check the Players Edition as well, as I go into more detail on the skill. Now, on to the reason why we are all here. The modern day big man has changed dramatically over time, as nowadays we are seeing more and more big men develop guard-like characteristics, with the likes of Nikola Jokic and Anthony Davis to name a few. But what about the big men that are not the same as those two players? Because not all big men are going to have the same amount of freedom like they have. So, how are the traditional big men still able to be effective in the modern day? The biggest thing that sticks out to me is they are all elite at being able to create space for their teammates. It's all the little details that do not show up on the stats, like beating their man down the floor every single possession, or holding off their man on a post-up, or setting a solid screen. And to top it off, they do it knowing that they may not even receive the ball. They do it because it will help the team. The first team we are going to take a look at is CSKA Moscow, who is coached by 7-time EuroLeague winner utilise. This action is very common for CSKA Moscow, and they have regular success from it, especially having a four-man like Shengelia and Clyburn who can put the ball on the floor. The first thing to pay attention to is the positioning of the low post player offensively and defensively. The defensive player is three-quarter denying, and the offensive player is above the block. As the four-man takes his dribble, the low post player needs to be sealing, or in this case screening, his defender, opening up a lane to the basket. A key detail is the low post player needs to be above the block. Otherwise, it makes the ball handler's job a lot harder, as there won't be enough space to get to the basket. If he is below the block, he has to drive his defender up the lane to create that space. The key for the ball handler is that he has to gain a step on his defender, or otherwise the offense will gain no advantage from the big man ceiling. Here is the same action from CSKA Moscow, but notice the position of the big man as the four-man receives the ball. Notice the defense is in front, which is playing into what the offense wants to do. Having the big man above the charge circle with the defense in front allows the four-man to have a better driving angle, and also delays the defense from helping, especially when the big man begins to drive his man up the lane, creating that space for the ball handler to drive into. Pay attention to the half step the ball handler has on his man again. Moving on to another scenario where the offense has created a potential mismatch and are looking to exploit that mismatch. Pay attention to how the defense is trying to defend the mismatch. The defense is trying to front the post, forcing the offense to throw the lob pass, which they can potentially steal. The positioning of the big man has allowed him to create space towards the baseline for a driving lane. The ball handler has recognized that the post defender is in front and uses that to his advantage by running his defender into him. No defenders have a foot inside the key, giving the ball handler a clear lane to the basket with no one to deter him from scoring. The next team we are going to take a look at is the Boston Celtics. They regularly have their big men clear space for their downhill guards like Jason Tatum and Kemba Walker. They have taken this concept a step further and have used it for when teams use the drop coverage against them, and have had success with it too. This first example is of when the Celtics use a wing ball screen and the defense hedges. The concept of clearing space can be very effective against the hedge, as the roller is already in front, putting his defender on his back. The key here is to not let his defender get around him, taking away the space on the baseline. Pay attention to where the roller has stopped to create contact with his man. The earlier he makes contact, the better the angle for the drive. The key here is to get the ball to the lift, forcing the tag to close out, creating a potential advantage. All the lift has to do now is beat his man and attack the space. The big man has done a good job of holding his position long enough, forcing his defender to foul him as he tries to stop the drive. Even if he wasn't able to score, the attention that the big man has attracted has now created other opportunities for his teammates. In this next example, the big man has done a good job of driving his defender up the lane, creating a better driving angle, which then forces a rotation. Now, in the NBA, it is easier to gain an advantage from this due to the defensive 3-second rule, but as I've shown earlier in the video, the idea still works in Europe. This next example is of when the Celtics are in transition, executing the same concept. The key for it to work in transition is the big man has to get ahead of his defender, as you can see in the example. Also, the ball handler has to recognize this and use it to his advantage by either feeding the rim runner or running his man into him. Pay attention to where the rim runner has gained position. He has now created an angle for the ball handler to get to the rim with no one to contest his shot. Another point to add is if the ball handler was looking to pass into the rim runner, he would have eventually draw the help defenders, then leaving open his teammates. This is a great way for your big men to be effective in transition, especially when ahead of the play. This next concept is relatively new within the NBA as more teams are using the drop coverage. This, like any other pick and roll, takes two guys to work, as if one doesn't do their job, the action won't be as effective. The aim of the big man is still the same, as he still needs to get ahead of the ball, create contact and keep his defender on his back. He has to hold his position and he cannot allow his defender to drive him into the space that he has created for his ball handler. The next key is the ball handler has to keep the chasing defender on his back, not allowing him to get back into the play. This also requires patience, as if he goes too early, he may not have the space to attack. Likewise, if he goes too late, it will give the screener's defender time to recover. This also allows the ball handler to play at his speed as long as he maintains the advantage. Pay attention to again where the defense is and how the big man creates the space for his ball handler to attack into. That's it for this week's Coaches Edition. Hopefully you are all able to learn some new ideas that can help your team. Don't forget to like, comment and share the video. Finally, don't forget to press the subscribe button. I've been Coach Pierce and I'll see you all next time.